So does anybody have any questions about anything? This stuff or other stuff? Yeah.
Did you do specs for your ball cup? Can I talk really loud so my phone can pick it up? Yeah, to back row. In your writing class, you said you did the W class.
Yeah.
Which one is that for you?
The same, all equal objectives with repetition. So I have two writing classes. One of them is called Writing for Chemists, and it's this sort of broad, well, okay, there's the course description, which is like a broad survey of all the kinds of writing that chemists would have to do. And then there's the way I actually teach the class, which is one level below that, which is let's have everybody develop a writing process so that you know how to approach any writing assignment. And then we sort of dabble into making a CV and writing an experimental section. You know, we do different stuff, but mostly the class is focused on developing your own writing process. And so I have a lot of assignments, and we do multiple times throughout the quarter. Like, for example, they do metacognitive reflections, short writing pieces, but they do them throughout the quarter and they build on each other. And so that's like one learning outcome. Evaluate your own writing process, right? And they demonstrate that mastery, or that they're engaging with it at least multiple times. For a given, you know, like writing a personal statement to apply to grad school, they'll start that in week 1, they'll finish it in week 10, and they'll go through 3 or 4 drafts. There's a peer review component. They do that every 2 weeks to do a peer review, right? So yeah, it's the same, it's repetition of learning outcomes in different contexts.
Is that what was the other class?
The other writing class?
Yeah.
Is a senior thesis class.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the same components, except we don't focus on the writing process, so there's not as much reflection, but we do a lot of drafts. And then we do a lot of engaging with the literature. So very similar assignments about filling out a template about a journal article that you read, extracting meaning from it, this kind of thing. So they'll do that a bunch of times throughout the quarter.
Will you share your stuff?
Sure, send me an email. Yeah,
Thank you.
I can just give you the whole Canvas site.
The slides is actually on the Canvas side.
Oh, I want to see his
his
syllabus. Oh, that sounds awesome.
Okay.
You're still doing it, right?
Yeah. I taught the senior thesis class in the fall, and I'll teach the other writing class or rather, I taught the senior thesis in the spring. I'll teach the other writing class in the fall.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other question for Steve? Brenda.
I like people get to hear.
Thank you, Steve and Dave, and of course, all of our great presenters today for sharing their insights and of course, design. It's great to have such concrete examples. I'm Brandon, for those of you who I don't know, and I imagine this might be covered later in the text, disclaimer, I haven't fully made it through the text, but when we were talking a lot about grading systems, and specifically, I was thinking about Dave's, how do I get an A, but also with all of these different checklist components, and I actually think it segues well with a lot of Anne-Marie's work, is concerns around students who, of course, I get the one point where students who come in, they're like, oh, I just want to pass the class because I'm fulfilling this requirement. But in terms of achievement and sentiments of self-efficacy, I think one of my big concerns in thinking about students coming into the course is students who are like, well, I've always been a C student, and I'm just going to get a C in this class. And this self-fulfilling prophecy of I'm going to just reach the benchmarks for C. So how do we push back, or how do we assess students coming into our class who are just saying, I'm only going to reach these benchmarks because that's what I've historically done, like vis-a-vis students who could potentially do more, and thinking about self-efficacy and achievement and everything along those lines. So not directly to any of our speakers, all of them, anybody in the room, just different ways to think about it and tackle it.
So I think one of the last things in this is the buy-in part, right?
Yeah.
And that's where this really comes in. So, you know, a related thing that I get a lot, less now than when I originally started because I've gotten better at the buy-in, but a lot of student comments that their effort was not adequately rewarded in the class because they're thinking, I took that quiz 3 times. I did 2 drafts of that paper and revised it, you know, but I still got a low pass, or I still didn't meet the threshold, right? they're used to trying more, trying harder, getting rewarded for that. Whereas this system doesn't necessarily reward that. It rewards it if that effort is productive and moves them towards mastery. And I think the reason I get fewer of those comments now than I used to is because I tell them that day one and day two, you know, frequently for the first week, and then, you know, periodically throughout the rest of the quarter. Reminding them that the grading system is set up to help them master all of the content in the course. Everybody in the course can get an A. And I've set my thresholds too low, and that's happened before. Not everybody, because some people just disengage, right? But a way higher percentage, because I wasn't expecting enough mastery from the students. I was saying, we're going to just do the percentages that used to work, translate those into number of learning outcomes, and fine, right? What I find is that having the target there from day one, not in terms of get 90% of all the points, but here's a checklist of things you need to do to get an A in this class. They tend to work towards that checklist. And so my problem was not having too many C's. It was not having students give up. It was the other thing. It was I made my checklist too easy. The students all nailed it, and I gave them all A's, which is great. They did exactly what I asked them to do. How often do you get to say that, right? I told the students, here's what I expect of you. They did it. Wonderful. I'll defend that to any dean who comes after me, right? But iterating going forward, now I know I can expect more. And so now I have a slightly more reasonable grade distribution now. Because, you know, it does take a lot of time and effort to master all of these learning outcomes. So I don't know that I've had the problem of C students just saying, I'm a C student, I'll never be anything but a C student. I do definitely have students who say, I'm a senior, I'm graduating, all I care about is getting a C. But I think that's different.
That's the goal. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And if I may weigh in, you know, since I was an instructional designer in the 90s, one of our goals is always try not necessarily to enhance the high functioning students, but really trying to help the student who are in the B level or C level to, you know, upgrade another letter grade. And one of the things that we could do, I can see a potential of this is that, you know, throughout this second chance or mastery process, they will be able, you know, we will be able to help the B student, you know, oh, I failed an exam or a project, now I'm a B or I'm a C, but be able to try it again and still, you know, fix that part and learn through it, like you said, how effective the mastery process is. So I always tell faculty 3 times is a charm. No matter how well we design the course or how well we prepare, there's always this one thing we didn't think of, and it did not happen exactly the way that we planned it. So if the first time you try specifications grading, I guarantee you're gonna find things that you can do differently the next time. So just give a couple times and try and see how it goes. Hopefully we'll continue having this faculty learning community, even though it's not training, you know, we'll get together and talk about our experience. I think that's gonna be helpful. So although it's gonna be a challenge that we already talked about, science is always a challenge, but I think there's a way we can overcome it. And we have a lot of faculty has on success. And I know Mary has something to say.
So the research would indicate that it's actually a really good thing for the students with these, so they can come in and that's why a lot of these systems were developed, was for the students who thought that they would, you know, they always get C's to come in on something like this, and it rebuilds their sense of self. So it should be higher. It should be for the marginalized students. So what you worry about is, don't worry about how to do it forward out.
Yeah, so this is exactly what I've seen, is that it was better, especially early when I did this, it was better for the C students, and it was the A students that I failed by not like pushing them hard enough.
They can handle it.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. But yeah, my favorite student comment that I've gotten about I do surveys for my specs grading stuff. And for one of my writing classes, the comment was, I personally hate this grading system, but I admit that it forced me to improve my writing. I put that in a paper. I was so happy with it.
And another thing, it actually is consistent, you know, in our growth mindset survey that we did it for about 35 faculty, you know, probably more than 35 classes. And then we realized not only students feel that this helps them to learn better, they feel they can master their learning better, but at the same time, we found that this system actually help the minority students, the first generation, and also low-income students compared to the general population. So there's another benefit of in the try. The thing is that it takes a lot of work for faculty to design it out front. But once you get it done, once the system's done, you can probably just keep tweaking it. It's not, you know, there's always this one time you have to spend a lot of time to get it done. So.
And you can write about this in your files for like trying to address equity concerns in class. This is the thing that you
Yeah.
do to be tactile.
And hopefully the DLI certification and also the certification certificate will provide you that second piece of evidence you can put in your profile when you do your academic review. You can probably tell your dean and your chair that you really try to improve teaching and by helping students with this kind of system.